Ciao e benvenuti al tavolo italiano. Hello and welcome to the Italian table. And welcome to the 14th installment of the video series on tips on studying Italian. In this video we're going to discuss dare to dream. In a nutshell, what I'm talking about is not being willing to give up your dreams, no matter how large or how small. Obviously in this video, the context is in learning Italian, planning a trip to Italy, getting in touch with your heritage, or just the Italian culture if you're not Italian. But the truth of the matter is, the principles remain the same about daring to dream, no matter how big or how small your goal is. So why discuss this now? Why is this a part of this series? After all, we're just talking about a hobby here, are we not? Well, maybe we are. But maybe we're looking at something more. Maybe we're looking at a passion that we don't really want to give up on. Maybe we're talking about succeeding in this so that we can carry these same principles onto other areas of our life, and why not? As for timing, well, this is the perfect time to discuss this. We've already talked about being able to do what we need to do, what is realistic, how to go about achieving our goals, reaching out for help, and so on. The next and last installment is about planning our adventure, so it only makes sense to solidify in ourselves now that we can do this, that we will do this. I can't remember who said it, but a quote that I absolutely love says, "Whether I think I can or whether I think I can't, I'm right." About now, after having discussed philosophies of learning, methods, being realistic, goals, etc., it is time to seriously get started if you haven't already. It's important to remember that here, that intensity of effort may reflect what your goals are. They may be relatively easy goals to attain, like ordering dinner and nothing more, and that's okay if that's what your goal is. So in getting started, you're bound to set some goals, consciously or not, and start working away. But as soon as you hit the first setback, guess who will be at your door? That's right, discouragement. Whether you are the vessel or somebody around us is, discouragement is never late to the party. But when it raises its ugly head, just remember, discouragement is not the absence of adequacy, but the absence of courage. That was a quote by Neil A. Maxwell. It has nothing to do with your ability. It's just there to steal your courage and determination. You must learn to see it for what it is and keep on moving no matter what the discouragement would like you to feel like. Don't ever shelter the feeling of discouragement in your mind, because it only comes to distract one from one's true abilities in life. Edmund Membiak. Mamma mia. That's a tough name to pronounce. People look at me sometimes and think that I don't get discouraged, because they look at Il Tavolo and they think, if I just had your discipline, I mean, you have a 400 plus page website, 600 plus documents online available to download, close to 1 million YouTube viewings, thousands of subscribers and users, and on and on and on. But I gotta tell you, first of all, that and $1.75 at Waffle House will buy me a cup of coffee, okay? But that's not why I do it. And if you think I didn't have to push through to accomplish what I've done so far, well, you really just don't know. I have been ultimately discouraged several times during my learning experience, and I've almost given up. One thing that people don't see when they look at what I've accomplished so far is they don't see the time that it took for this to happen. I've been studying and working on many of these things since 2008. That's going on 8 years this month, actually. It's taken a long time to put this together, and it's happened just a little bit at a time, which is why I like to teach just a little bit at a time. I found that for me, if I can accomplish something, no matter how small, I feel like I've accomplished something. But if I set lofty goals and don't accomplish it, then I get discouraged. But even with my little at a time philosophy, there have been things that have been very, very difficult for me to come by. One of them was comprehension. I struggled so hard before I could begin to understand Italian very well that, to be honest, before my 2010 trip to Italy, I had already decided that I was going to quit studying Italian, close up or give away the meetup group that I had in Charleston, South Carolina, and call it quits when I got back. But there was something inside of me that just wanted to hang on. And so when I got back from that trip in 2010, my comprehension just began to click a little bit. So I decided, let's try this one more time, and I scheduled some workshops to teach what I did know about Italian, and I had nearly 60 students sign up. Previous to that, the most I had ever had was probably about a dozen. That greatly encouraged me. It gave me the jump start I needed to continue, and here I am today. It's not perfect. A lot of mistakes on the website I got to go back and clean up, because a lot of it I did create earlier in my studying history. But I have a good foundation to build on. I have many friends worldwide because of Il Tavolo Italiano. I have a lot of friends in Italy, which I cherish because of Il Tavolo Italiano. And it isn't because I'm great, or that I work harder than anyone else, or that I'm more disciplined than anyone else. It's only because I didn't give up. I decided to dare to dream. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "We must accept finite disappointment, but we must never lose infinite hope." The problem with discouragement is that it tries to show you this impossible feat that you could never accomplish, the mountain that you could never move. Well, simply choose not to look at the whole mountain. Only look at the task at hand. There's a Chinese proverb that says, "The man who removes a mountain begins by carrying away small stones." I remember with one of the jobs I took, I came in and there was a lot of work that needed to be done to get the facility up to par. And I looked at this just enormous amount of work that had to be done. And the gentleman that hired me, he said, "Remember," he goes, "how do you eat an elephant?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "One bite at a time." Focus on that one bite, not the elephant. It really boils down to that, just a little bit at a time. Make up your mind. Make the decision. Or not. But I hope you do make the decision to dare to dream, and then just pick away at your goal a little bit at a time, and cherish those victories. And when you get discouraged, look back at what you've accomplished, not at what you haven't. I highly recommend things that you have accomplished, writing them down once you've accomplished them. If you don't know how to conjugate a verb in the present tense, jot that down. Then you can now conjugate an ARE verb in the present tense. If you'll write down how many words you can identify out of a song, and 6 months later listen to that song again, pull up what you wrote down, and write down how many words you can now understand from it, or phrases if you're up to that point in time. It doesn't matter how slowly you go, as long as you don't stop. Confucius. Wish I could take credit for that quote, but I can't. So dare to dream. Don't allow yourself to discourage yourself. And don't allow others to discourage you either. After all, it's not their dream, it's your dream. Whether it's getting in touch with your heritage, whether it's because you're planning a trip to Italy, whether it's just because you think Italian's a beautiful language and you want to learn it. No matter what your motivation is, set your mind up. You're going to dare to dream. take those little steps to accomplish that dream, and it'll be here before you know it. After all, il tempo vola, time flies. Grazie mille, sono molto contento che avete deciso di guardare questo video. Thank you very much, and I am so happy that you decided to watch this video. Ciao.